ride with me, 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 ride.
What's up, fam, and welcome to LITS House. Welcome back to our second episode. My name is Angeline.
My name is Mel, and my name is Christina.
Here with us today are some very special guests that I'd love to introduce to you guys. It is our very own spiritual parents of the Life in the Spirit Ministries Church. So we have...
This is Pastor Filippo Tanto.
And my name is Lillian Tanto.
And we're going to run through some questions to get to know you.
To the stop by. See, I go tell them to the whole wide world. I go talk like it congas.
Falitua, our first question. How would you describe your religious upbringing?
Tough question. My religious upbringing, it was very, very strict. Very, very, very strict. I was born and raised in a Catholic church, and church wasn't an option, it was compulsory. So my mum and dad were very, very devoted to the church that they even put me in a choir even though I can't sing. So yeah, but strict is the word.
This question is for Pastor. Also for you, what was your religious upbringing?
I was brought up as a Catholic boy as well. All my schooling was in a Catholic school, and my parents really thought that I was going to be a priest. And
Did you think you were going to be a priest?
I don't know.
What did you want to be?
I wanted to be a policeman and a professional footballer.
Union or league? Union? League?
Union.
Oh, nice.
Did you ever play professionally?
I was close.
How close?
Very close.
How come you didn't play professionally? I know this story. I know this story. Do you want to tell the story?
Alright, tell the story.
Alright, next question.
So the next question is, what was your initial reaction when you found out your calling was to be a First Lady?
No. No, only because I'm not a Falitua material, I'm not a First Lady material. I'm very bold, loud, and straightforward. So, yeah.
What is your ideal Falitua if you think that you don't fit into the criteria of Falitua?
I've known Falitua as those ladies that sit behind their husbands and support them and just work behind the scene. That's what I know about Falitua. About me, yeah, I don't. I like to talk, and I'm pretty straightforward as well. And the hardest part for me was to submit.
Over to Pastor, what was your initial reaction when you were told your calling was to be a pastor?
No way. Never thought it. Never thought I'd become a pastor. Never thought about it.
So why did you become a pastor?
Well, stepping out to plant a Life in the Spirit Ministries, we always had a heart for people, but we didn't know that we were going to be pastors. But when we stepped out and planted our Life in the Spirit Ministries, and then we realized that this is our calling. Yeah, but then we realized later that this is what God wanted us to do.
You were both assistant pastors at our previous church for quite a long time, and now moving into being pastors. Do you think that there was a big difference from being assistant pastor to now pastoring a church, or were they similar? Were there big differences?
It was very similar. It wasn't a big change for me. Because before we planted Life in the Spirit Ministries, we had, I've been a secretary for the church where we're at Hurstville, Samoa, LG. I've been secretary for 13 years. And then they made me an assistant pastor for 7 years. So I think it wasn't a major change for me, a major transition for me, because I'm always the guy that runs the church when the senior pastor wasn't there. I think the only big transition for me is to taking that leadership as an assistant pastor, so I'm accountable for every decision that I make in the church. I think, but it wasn't really major transition for me. Yeah, so it's easy.
What about you, Falitua?
For me, it was a major change. When we were called to be assistant pastors, we still had someone else running the women's ministry. So I was just like another assistant under another lady. So I wasn't accountable to all the decisions that we're making, but another lady was in charge. So, it was hard for me, but easy for me.
So how did you speak to your children about the decision to become a pastor, and how did they react?
That's a very good question. Before we planted Life in the Spirit Ministries, we actually sat down with our children and we asked them if they're ready to step out. Wow. And their reaction was, it's about time. They knew what was going to happen. So we asked them and said, yeah, we're in this together. So it's very important to speak to your children if you want to become a pastor, just before you step out. Because the calling, it's not just for me and my wife. It also involves my children as well as the family.
What is your vision for the church as a whole in 2023?
Our vision for this year as a church is discipleship. I see that a lot of people are coming to Christ, but they're not disciples. So God has spoke to us at the beginning of the year and said, this year, you've got to teach and make sure every disciple becomes a disciple maker. Because we're all disciples, but God and Jesus has called us to be disciple makers. And that's how we're going to make disciples. And that's our vision for this year.
Falitua, what has been your biggest blessing within the time being a first lady or pastor?
Just to see the maturity in the congregation. I reckon that's just the biggest blessing for me, to see people grow and mature in Christ.
And for yourself, Pastor?
For me, there's nothing blesses me more than to see people come to Christ and have that relationship with Jesus. And you see people lives transformed. And that blesses me so much. It's just to see, especially the young people. When I see them at the altar, broken and cry out to Jesus, that's my heart. And that blesses me so much.
A question for you both. Did you have any indication growing up that you would be a pastor?
For me, no indication whatsoever. I had a different plan.
What was your plan?
I just had a different plan for my life, and God has His own plan, so I'll just follow God's plan.
Were you guys ever prophesied over?
For me, ever since I was born again, there's always people prophesying over my life. They say, one day you'll become a pastor. One day you'll become a great man of God. I didn't want to believe it because I never wanted to be a pastor. But ever since I knew I was a leader. I was always a leader. When I play for a rugby team, I'm always a captain. When I'm in a group, I'm always the person that speaks up. I'm always that person that leads the gang. That's always that bad boy that always put my hand up and lead something. So I was a leader. Everything that I do, I knew that I was a leader. But so when I became a Christian, born again Christian, and a lot of people prophesy, even pastors and prophets prophesying over my life, but I never wanted to believe it because I didn't want to be a pastor. I wanted to be an All Black. Never wanted to be.
Keep that in.
Yeah, so here we are.
So, as pastors, both of you having to work as a team, would you say your personalities are quite the opposite or the same?
Very different.
Like how different?
Very different. He's very gentle, compassionate, kind, loving, and shows so much grace. I'm, on the other hand, very different. I am very straightforward, bold, loud, and I like to tell people off. And yeah.
As a side comment, I don't know if I've said this before, but when I have to describe my parents, I always say my dad is like the New Testament and my mom is the Old Testament. The New Testament full of grace and love, mercy, and the Old Testament's full of laws and punishment.
You're under my roof, you better go to church. Do this, do that. So I'm very straightforward.
Yeah. So I'm Jesus, she's Moses.
But would you say in leadership and as working together as pastors that sort of balances each other out? Because I find that you're able to teach each other things.
Yeah.
So with my dad, he's being very gentle and humble. When something happens to him, he will stand up for himself, but it will be in a nicer way as opposed to First Lady. She won't let anyone step all over her, so I guess it's a good sort of balance. And you teach each other things like humility and then boldness and vice versa.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, this one teaches me how to be patient. You know, I need a lot of patience. You gotta understand where people are coming from. But I also teach him how to sort of like stand up and just learn to correct. So the difference between Pastor and I is that, let's just say that Angelica just runs out there. Pastor will be like, oh, come on, Angelica, come here, sweetie. For me, I will just get, Angelica, get over here. You know, like, that's the difference. We're very, very different, but in a good way. We learn from one another.
Yeah.
Being at this stage, being both pastors for this long, what advice would you give to new pastors or young youth pastors, or even advice to give to someone who might have that prophesied over them that they're supposed to be a pastor, but they might not feel like that's what they want to do?
Very good question, Angelique. My advice is for an upcoming or young pastors is to be yourself. Never try to be someone else or another evangelist. That I believe that God has called you for who you are, and just be yourself and follow Jesus. Just please God. Don't please people. Please God. You'll never go wrong if you please God. So be yourself and follow Jesus. I know a lot of people following other people, but follow Jesus.
A question for First Lady. What's the story of how you were saved?
Story of how I was saved. Oh, good question. Gotta go back all the way. Yes. Okay, I'll just tell the story. You just edit out what needs to be edited out. Okay, how I was saved. I was living in a very abusive home, and I ended up leaving home. So I ran away from home to Australia, thinking that I'm going to run away to the world and do whatever I want, because my upbringing was very strict. You're not even allowed to walk outside. You're not even allowed to go to the shop. It's to school, home, school, home. So I wasn't even allowed to stop at a shop. So when I was old enough to leave home, I ran away, and I ran all the way to Australia, thinking I'm going to enjoy the world. I'm going to dance my life away. But little did I know that God had other plans. I came and I stayed at my family at Orchid's place, and that's where they took me to church. And that's where they took me to church, and that's where I heard about the gospel, and that's where I received Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. And I have never turned back, and I have never looked back, and I have never backslid. So here I am.
How old were you at that time?
Probably 18. I would say 18 years old.
In our culture, having strict parents is an extremely common thing. For other young ladies or teenage girls in sort of the same situation, if they're in now, what's something that you would say, what's advice for them, or something to encourage them in what they're going through?
It really depends on what you're going through, because with my case, it was the sexual abuse that I had to run away from. So it was very, very different. I guess some teenage kids are rebellious, but I wasn't rebellious. I had to leave because of the circumstances that I was in. But if I would say if they are in that circumstance at home, they really need to speak to somebody, not just sit there and sweep it on the carpet. Speak to their pastor or someone that they can trust. There is help available. There is help available. That don't just sit there and thinking that God doesn't love me, because that's what I had. I kept on blaming God for what happened to me, but then I realized that no, it's not God. It's God has given everybody free will. So, and He wouldn't touch that free will, even though it's bad for those people to do stuff to me. God will not touch their free will. And I knew that God would turn that around for my good. Now that I'm able to come out of that situation, I'm able to help other kids that are in the same situation right now. But I know that a lot of youth are rebellious, not because they just don't want to listen to their parents. Just listen to mom and dad. But I would also like to give advice to our parents not to be so strict on your kids. Just allow them just to sort of have freedom, but watch over them and guide them and talk to them. Speak to them and just tell them what's in your heart, like I do with my children now. Never got that from my parents.
Nice, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing.
The same question for you, Pastor, was the story of how you were saved or drawn to the church.
1992, I became a born-again Christian in Auckland, New Zealand. There was a little church. It was called Epsom Samoan AOG. And what drew me to that church was praise and worship. It was under the leadership of Pastor Ferretti Kurene and Sophia Kurene. I think this family is well known as the Kurene brothers, and that drew me to Christ is through praise and worship. And I love the music, and that's how I became a born-again Christian.
For both of you, since your religious upbringing was Catholic, and then you had to, then you were saved, did your family have any negative or any reaction to you both becoming born-again Christians or being Catholic?
Yes. My family didn't like me. Because they expected me to be a priest. Was that boy that they really had high expectation of me to become a priest. And then I turn around, going to an AOG church, Pentecostal church, and it was really hard for them. But my uncle kept coming and picking me up every Sunday, took me to church every Sunday, and they didn't like it. But look at them now, they're all in Pentecostal church. They're all serving under Life in the Spirit Ministry. So thank God.
How about you, Felicity?
I guess for me, it's Not much, because I left home already, so they already disowned me, so they didn't really care what religion I follow, what church I would go to. They're just happy that when I heard the gospel, I heard about the message of Christ, and I did end up calling back home and I meant things to them, so they were just happy that I was alive, and I came back home.
We've got another question. Now, what's one thing you think people would be surprised to know about being a First Lady?
You can actually have fun. You don't just sit there with a pretty hat on and eyelashes, and you can actually have fun as a First Lady. Yeah.
And for yourself, being a pastor?
Have fun. Serving God is not. It's not something that it's not a burden. But we enjoy it. We really enjoy serving God, and we thank God for the people that allow us to journey with. We're really having fun, with the people that we have. Yeah. So we are enjoying the ministry.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, First Lady, for sharing. I'm sure we can all take something from that. Moving along, we're going into our games of Who Knows Who Better.
So now we're going to jump into Who Knows Who Better. We're going to ask a couple questions and they're going to answer for the other person. What is your favourite colour? Their favourite colour. Right, what's your one, Pastor?
Blue.
Oh. Ding, ding. And what is Brother's favourite colour?
Yellow.
Yeah.
Where did they grow up?
Suburb, country.
Country.
We'll go with the first 10 years of their life.
Oh, no, she peeped.
Oh my goodness, it drew me a picture.
Alright, Pastor, where did Felicia grow up?
Samoa, New Zealand.
Is that right? Where did I grow up?
And Felicia, where did Pastor grow up?
Faleatu.
I grew up in Samoa and New Zealand, so.
Faleatu. Faleatu is Samoa.
Okay.
Alright, the next question is, who is their oldest friend?
Each other.
Oldest friend you've had for a long time. Yeah.
Oh, the longest.
Yeah.
There's
That's
a
the
lot
only
of
one
them.
I could think of. There's no
Boyfriend or girlfriend?
Longest friend.
The longest.
Yeah, longest,
The
closest
longest
is to the
friend.
same thing.
I would say, yeah.
Why do you come up with such a hard question?
5, 4, 3, 2.
Alright, Pastor, who is Felicia's longest friend?
Margaret.
Margaret who?
Any Margaret.
Which Margaret?
Bali.
Yes, he's right.
Felicia, who is Pastor's longest friend?
He has so many friends, but the only one that I know that has been the longest is that guy at the back. You saw that guy?
Is that right?
It's not the closest, it's the longest.
The longest.
Yeah, that was wrong.
Red line.
Alright, so who's your longest friend?
Many of them.
Exactly, and you're hardly in contact with them, so they're not your friends. I would say a friend is somebody that you're still in contact with right now. and
Yeah,
having
they're
coffee.
busy.
Oh, so
I
they
contact him
so it's
every
great.
single day.
Ring the bell.
Okay. I missed it.
He has friends, but they don't talk.
Yeah. Closest friend.
Only
Yeah.
because that friend over there.
Alright, next question. How many siblings do you guys have?
Does that include adopted?
Yes, because there's siblings. Yes. Yeah, you have to include it. They might watch us.
Pastor, how many siblings do you have?
9. So 9.
Don't you have 10?
No,
With what's his name? Bo? The one that passed away? The baby?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was 10.
9.
How many siblings do I have?
14.
What is each other's favorite worship songs?
Favorite worship song? There's so many.
Alright, Pastor, what is Falit's favorite song?
That's not a worship song.
What is Pastor's favorite?
Uncle, you're worthy of it all.
I got so many favorite worship songs. So.
Alright, next question. What is each other's hobbies?
Now?
Yeah.
I would say.
Alright, Falit's, what is Pastor's hobby?
Biryaki.
Nah.
Pastor, what is Falit's hobby?
Reading.
Okay.
She loves reading.
I love reading, but not my favorite.
Oh, your hobby.
I had to read because I'm preaching.
Is that a yes or no?
Okay, fine.
Next question is, what is the date of your guys' wedding anniversary?
Easy.
Can
What's
I?
your birthday
The
again?
day? I should get extra points as I finish early.
You're right.
Yeah. Oh. Maybe, wait.
If you really feel like you need to, you can.
Alright, I want to count down from 3 and both you guys say it together. Alright,
ready?
3, 2, 1.
22nd of March, 97.
I changed it twice. I struggle with the numbers.
Alright, last question. Where did you guys meet?
At a nightclub.
With the question,
Yeah.
where did we first saw each other, or where did we actually
Yeah, actually
Me.
Yeah.
I was very naughty back then, guys.
Alright. Pastor, what is your answer?
Birthday party.
And what is your answer, Falit's?
at a nightclub?
No. We met at the birthday party and then we went to the nightclub.
I don't remember birthday party, but I remember
Does anyone have another question for them? Oh.
Yeah, about the nightclub.
This was before I was saved, guys. Before I was saved.
I was saved, but I went to the nightclub to preach the gospel.
I'd like to say thank you, Pastor. Thank you, First Lady, for taking your time out today to be with us and answer a few questions. This is just a little gift to show our love and our appreciation. So that concludes us for today's episode, family. So just remember,
Stay blessed.
stay lit, and